Who qualifies for the employee retention credit?
I think it goes into two things. Number one is I tell everybody, do not pre-qualify yourself. Forbes did an article that 70-80% of businesses qualify for this if they have under 500 W-2 employees.
How does somebody apply? Like, can somebody apply on their own if they wanted to? Can their CPA apply for them if they wanted to? Or could they also have an option of maybe going to a company like yours to apply as well too?
CPAs can do this, but I would tell you from my experience, because we have a lot of CPAs sending us a lot of business, is it does take 1 or 2 hours per employee to file. If you go on our website, it takes 5 or 10 minutes per EIN.
If you want to apply for it, the link is erchelpnow.com. If you wanted to apply to it, that would be the place to go. Hi, everybody. Jose Luis Morales here. Welcome back to the Residual Real Estate Agent Show. Today, we've got a repeat guest. His name is Josh Zaglowski. He is the co-founder of ERC Specialist. And today, he is going to be answering the 5 most frequently asked questions as it relates to ERC. Welcome to the show, Josh. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you doing?
Doing good. The first question I wanted to ask you is, who qualifies for the employee retention credit?
I think it goes into two things. Number one is I tell everybody, do not pre-qualify yourself. So if you're listening to me right now, I say have an open mind, because like even Forbes did an article, I think I told you about it, Jose, is Forbes did an article that 70-80% of businesses qualify for this if they have under 500 W-2 employees. And so, but how do they qualify? So there's a couple of questions there. If this is up to $26,000 per W-2 employee, not a loan, don't have to pay back, where PPP was a loan and forgiven later. And then you had to disclose what you're going to use the money for. You can use the money for anything with this. But in 2020, you can get up to $5,000 if you have 100 employees or less, is the first question. The second question is did you have a shutdown, or were you shut down based on a government mandate, basically, in 2020? Which, I mean, in April and May, I remember sitting home for 4 or 5 weeks. So majority of people are going to be able to get credit for that in 2020. In 2021, the questionnaire is, did you have 500 employees or less? And then the next one is did you have a 20% revenue loss or a supply chain disruption? If you answered yes to those, you could qualify. Now, I think one of the things that you and I were talking about a couple of weeks ago was with not pre-qualifying yourself. We don't charge to have them go through the questionnaire just to see if they qualify. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing, Josh, that like most people will talk to like an accountant, and because they're not a specialist in that field, the accountant will say maybe something like, you don't qualify for X reason, or you don't qualify for that reason. And I think that's the biggest thing that I saw from a lot of our viewers, that they're like, well, I don't qualify. So what I would encourage people is, don't pre-qualify yourself. Go to erchelpnow.com. They will ask you the questions there, and they will let you know if you qualify or if you don't qualify. But at least going through the process, you'll know 100% if you qualify or not. So I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is just to talk to somebody that's maybe not a specialist in this, and then try to determine themselves whether they qualify or they don't qualify.
No, you hit right on the button. It only takes 5 or 10 minutes to go through the survey. We never ask for a credit card or payment up front. We only get paid if you receive the money. Then the other part that you were saying that about pre-qualifying yourself, with a CPA or tax professional, I always say don't get upset with your tax professional or CPA. This has been amended 5 times. So your CPA or your tax professional may have been correct when they told you you did not qualify. But because this has been amended, it's been changed. Again, like you said, we specialize in this. And your CPA specializes in your 1040s, your 1120s, your enrolled agent, if that's who you use. That's what they specialize in. Like a good example is like, if you're going through a divorce, you don't call a real estate attorney to defend you. You call a divorce attorney. That attorney specializes in that specific piece, right? That's what we do right now. We're not trying to we don't want to do your taxes. We want to work with your CPA or your tax professional to make sure you get the most amount of credit rebate possible for this program.
And the name of the company, just for our viewers, is called ERC Specialist. And once again, if you want to know if you do qualify, ERC Help Now is the link. The second question is, how does somebody apply? Like, can somebody apply on their own if they wanted to? Can their CPA apply for them if they wanted to? Or could they also have an option of maybe going to a company like yours to apply as well too?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, you and I have had some conversation about this. CPAs can do this, but the one thing that I've seen, I would say 90% of them. Oh, well, number one, if they could do it, they would have already told you about it, and that's why I feel. So if you talk to them now and they're like, "Oh yeah, I could do this for you. Why didn't you tell me about this before?" The part that you mentioned on, can anyone go on our website or can anyone do this? If you go on our website, it takes 5 or 10 minutes per EIN. Now, can a CPA do this or a tax professional? Yes, but I would tell you from my experience, because we have a lot of CPAs sending us a lot of business, is it does take 1 or 2 hours per employee to file. In other words, let's say you have a business of 10 employees. You have an option to get up to $260,000. Because 10 times 26, that CPA that's your CPA, you're not the only client of theirs. They have 200-300 clients, and that would backlog them after about 5 clients because they have 300. The way we've structured it is we've structured it to scale, where we went from 6 partners to now 200 employees because we've had it to scale where we can help as many customers, business owners, as possible with this. And so we have a lot of people referring business over to us because of that, because it's like, hey, you know what? I've gone through this whole wave, of filing people's taxes on April 15th. Now, I might have a little bandwidth, but I got a lot of things to follow up on. So anyways, I don't want to say people can't do it. I just know the capacity they can. And that's why they're sending us a lot of their stuff, because we specialize in this and we can get the max amount of dollar possible. And we don't get paid until they get paid.
And then the benefit is just basically that you have somebody that is a specialist in the application process. You said that it takes about 1 to 2 hours per employee to apply. What is that process like, just out of curiosity? Like who does what forms do they require? Who gets those forms? Where do they get sent to? How fast or how slow of a process is it?
It takes about that long per employee. So like I said, if you have 10 employees, there's another 10 to 20 hours of labor that CPA now took upon himself if he or she decides to do that, right? It kind of comes back to how the business started. Is my CPA firm is the same CPA firm that does it for Robert Kiyosaki. And when I asked them, hey, can you help me with this? No, this is a payroll credit. So you need to talk to, ADP, Paychex, Gusto. Oh, okay. Well, I talked to them and they don't amend, taxes. They just do active quarterlies. And so now I think some of them are now hiring a third party, but they don't actively do it. But the same token, to your point, is because we're doing so many, we know all the legalities to maximize the amount of credit. In other words, we've had a lot of people that have said, "Oh, my CPA says I can get 200,000. What can you guys do?" And on average, we're getting almost about 22% more than when people bring something like that to us. It doesn't happen too often, but when it does, we've done those statistics and it's about 22% right now.
So it's basically how by knowing these different technicalities, it basically allows you to maximize the credit. So another thing for people is, if you want to know, if you want to apply for it, the link is erchelpnow.com. If you wanted to apply to it, that would be the place to go. Third question I had for you is, how do you calculate how much you qualify for? Like, how does somebody know that? Like, what are the different factors that are taken into consideration as it relates to that?
So it's a whole algorithm. It's quite detailed, but for the most part, I'll go over a couple things and then I'll kind of tell you, based on the documents that's uploaded. But basically, in 2020, if you have 100 employees or less, you can get up to $5,000 if you're also shut down. In 2021, it's up to $21,000, and it's $7,000 per quarter. So in essence, to kind of give you an idea, if you paid someone a wage $10,000 that quarter, you can get up to $7,000, 70% back as a rebate. Because this isn't like taxes that is debited against your taxes the next couple of years. This is like a tax refund check. You paid these wages, you're getting a rebate for that. Now, so the documents we're going to ask for to send us is your 941s for 6 quarters, basically quarters 2, 3, and 4 in 2020, and 1, 2, and 3 in 2021. Your PPP loan information, if you got number 1, 2, and then your payroll report. In other words, what we're trying to verify is how much you paid and how much money you can get back. Again, you can get up to $26,000 per W-2 employee. The average across the board, just to give you an idea, is about $18,000 per employee net that we're seeing across the board with everybody.
And then what is the 941X employee retention credit?
Yeah, your 941 is your quarterly reports, right? Your quarterly returns. I get this question sometimes, and this might have been a question you were thinking of, but I thought this expired. I thought this program was done. And I always tell people it expired. It is done. However, we can amend your 941X up to 3 years. So that's the form that helps us amend quarterly returns.
The last question I had for you is, can I still get the ERC credit in 2022, and why?
We can amend someone's 941s up to 3 years. So this is going to be another 12 or 24 months for 2020. So in 2020, on December 31st, 2023, the 2020 $5,000 per employee will fall off. Now it'll be $21,000 per employee. At the end of 2024, 21 will be done, and then the program will be over. So you can get it right now. And I would tell you, the reason why you'd want to get going right now is because when we first started this, the backlog was only about 4 or 5 months with the IRS. Now it's 8 months. So in other words, the longer you wait, it could be up to 12 months. And so I always tell people, at least get yourself in line to start waiting, because that's why we don't charge until you receive the money, because we want to make sure you feel comfortable about getting the money, first, and then, making sure we get paid.
When you say the backlog, that means from the time that it's approved to the time they receive the money, basically.
Yeah. So like the logistic with us is you go to the survey, it takes 5 or 10 minutes per EIN. Then you'll upload documents. The client will upload documents, those 3 documents, 941s, PPP, payroll information. And then once we get those, it takes us about a week or 2 to come back and say, you're approved for a certain amount of dollar to the penny, $123,000.42. Do you want us to file? At that point, you hit DocuSign, which we've never asked for a payment ever yet, right? You hit DocuSign, we file it 3 days later. Well, we send it off to the IRS. The IRS's backlog is the one that takes 6 to 8 months right now. 8 months, more on the 8 month side. And so at that point, when the money comes, then we get our pay and disperse for both of us.
I think that's pretty much it, Josh. The only thing is I just want to remind the viewers that don't pre-qualify yourself. If you want to know if you qualify, go on erchelpnow.com. They will let you know an amount that you're potentially pre-qualified for. They'll ask you for the document. And then once they verify the documents, they'll tell you 100% for sure what you qualify for. And then after that, they'll file for you if you want to file. If you don't want to file, you don't have to. But at least this way, you've got the information. Anything else, Josh, that you think would be valuable to our viewers?
No, I think we hit it just a bit ago. Is definitely, whatever you're going to do, get yourself in line, get going. Hopefully, obviously, I would say hopefully use us, because it's something that we want to make sure you're aware of. But definitely get it done. And, it's something that's out there. I know it might be too good to be true, but it's not. If you Google ERC credit, you'll go to the irs.gov website. It's very hard to understand. It's 210 pages worth of legislation. But outside that, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Likewise, I appreciate you. And as always, I appreciate you sharing this information with our viewers.
Thank you.